AI making you lazy, but not in the ways you think. Hi guys, welcome to Alpha with AI. This is Shubham, and today we are going to talk about how to research any industry from scratch using AI. So when it comes to AI, it almost feels like a all-knowing oracle, right? It has answers to all of your questions, and it gives you answer in a very confident tone, in a very confident manner. And that's precisely the problem. So let's say I want to research any industry today. Let's say I will take an example as specialty chemical industry in India. So what I will do, I will go on to ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude or any other tool that which lets you use their AI, and you'll say something like explain to me specialty chemical industry in India in detail, list out all its players, give me the current dynamics, give me tell me about its history, and so on and so forth, right? And you will finally hit that paste. And what you will actually get is a very confident, authoritative answer, right? Which will feel extremely articulated, well structured, well thought, well put, right? And you will start believing in it, right? And you will believe it again and again and again and again. And that's entirely the problem, because you have no idea which part model is telling the truth about and which part model has completely invented, right? So it fabricates data that everyone is aware of, right? And using AI this way is actually the reason you are becoming lazier day by day, because you are literally handing out your thought process and your creativity and your inner artist to AI, right? And that's entirely the problem, and that's entirely the problem I'm going trying to fix using one tool, which is NotebookLM. If someone tells me today that which one, if I can use only one tool today for industry research, for investment research, for any kind of research, which tool that will be, I will say within a blink of second without even thinking it will be NotebookLM. That's the only tool you really need in order to do any kind of industry research, right? And I will tell you why. Because it comes with limitations, right? It will not tell you the answer in the same confident manner that ChatGPT tells you. It will give you all the answer with citations, right? Because it will only answer from your uploaded resources. It will not know the way ChatGPT or Claude knows things, right? And that sounds like a limitation, but that's entirely the point, right? Because when you are doing so sensitive as something like industry research or investment research, data integrity matters, right? It shouldn't invent things, it shouldn't fabricate things. And that's why we are going to use NotebookLM today as a primary tool for this industry research. And once we start with industry research, I will show you here my screen, right? So as I said, why NotebookLM? Because it comes with a limitation that it doesn't know things the way ChatGPT and Perplexity and Claude knows things, right? And that's why this is perfect for industry research. So NotebookLM runs on Gemini 3, which comes with its default 1 million context window. And soon Google has said that they will also integrate Gemini Pro inside NotebookLM. So the results will drastically improve once that happens, right? Then I will talk about how should we start, right? So the problem with industry research today again is people just don't know how to start, right? Let's say you are doing an investment research for one company, you know where to go, right? You can go into a company website, visit that investor relations section and download few reports, or you can go on to screeners like screener.in or Finviz, download insider trading data, all sort of data, right? And you immediately start analyzing. But for industry research, there's no specific structure to it. There's no specific hierarchy to it, that which source should be, you can say, held most important, which source shouldn't be that much important, where to go and look for this source, where to go for and look for this source, which source I should prefer if I'm in a hurry, which source I should prefer if I have time, right? There's no specific structure to this thing, right? And that's what I'm precisely today trying to solve, right? So here's something most people get wrong, right? They focus on the tool and they completely ignore the fuel. You can have the most sophisticated system in the world, but if you are feeding it garbage, you are going to get that garbage back, right? And that's why I have created a specific hierarchy of which sources you should follow while doing industry research. So first, I have categorized these sources as a tier 1 source, tier 2 source, tier 3 sources, tier 4 sources, right? Tier 1 source are consultancy reports, right? So this sounds like a obvious answer and not so much difficult to answer as well. But I will tell you why I still prefer consultancy reports as a tier 1 resource in this workflow, right? So consultancy firms could be McKinsey, BCG, Bains of the world. Everyone is aware of them, right? So these firms produce some of the highest quality industry research reports regularly, right? And I will tell you how they do that, right? So former CXO client has told me this story that whenever, let's say, a big huge industry player wants to enter any industry, so let's say it could be Apple, Tesla, Reliance, right? What they will do, they will reach out to these consultancy firms. They will pay them millions of dollars, right, for market entry study. And then these firms are going to conduct a rigorous primary research. They are going to talk to industry leaders, regulatory bodies, different interviews, proprietary data analysis, on ground verification, validation, right? And they will generate that report over maybe few weeks or few months, and they will provide that report to that particular group, right? And then 6 months, 12 months later, what they will do is they will release that report in a more toned down version as a industry leadership content, right? So basically, once you download this report, what you are getting is 80% of that analytical value for 0% of the cost, right? And people completely ignore these reports, right? So this should be a primary hierarchy you should follow while researching any industry, right? So trick is, now you know this is the tier 1 resource you should follow. Then the next thing comes is where to find them, right? So I will include the guide in the description of this video, so you will find all the relevant links of these consultancy reports, right? Then the second thing which comes is government and regulatory body reports, and I will tell you why this is also one of the most important resources you should look for, right? Because let's say you are trying to understand a specific, very niche, very small industry, there's high possibility that consultancy reports are not covering them. Then what to do, right? So let's say I take any small industry, for example, let's say it is a paper industry or a specialty manufacturing industry, right? So stock market or Wall Street doesn't not going to care about this industry, right? Bloomberg is not going to package it much neatly either, right? So what you are going to do, you are going to look for regulatory bodies in that space, right? And they exist because they often need to lobby for policy changes and things like that, right? They also need to report to government, right? So which means they will have to produce lots of data, right? Paper data, annual reports, white papers, market outlooks, things like that. And they are like gold mine literally whenever you are trying to research any kind of industries like that, right? So of course, if you look at my screen, you can see multiple things like CRISIL, ECRA, these resources you should also follow, because often government ministries commission these certain regulatory agencies for rigorous research on companies and on industries as well. For global coverage, you can of course refer to UNIDO or OECD or US International Trade Commission studies, right? Information exists. You just have to understand where and how to find them, right? Then the third resource will be company annual reports. So company annual reports is much better to understand any industry, but not for the things you might think, right? Because whenever it comes to annual report, people think of financial data, right? But there are certain different things other than financial data the annual report writes on, right? Which could be capital allocation decisions, different disclosures, and they have to discuss these things in the annual report because that is literally required for them to do, right? So it could include regulatory headwinds, operational challenges, things like that, right? And once you study 5 to 7 annual reports, let's say from leading players in that sector, you will get ton of information, right? Which could be literally could become a base for your industry research. And then it comes a tier 4 category, which is AI generated deep research. So why I have kept AI generated deep research as a tier 4? Because it shouldn't be the obvious thing you should look for while actually building your industry research book, right? You can use it later to query from those resources, but it shouldn't be the primary source of truth, right? So what we do in AI generated deep research is we use Gemini deep research, or you can use different tools, deep research features, right? So whenever you are trying to research, you have gathered tier 1 data, tier 2 data, and tier 3 data, but still some aspects you might have missed, right? Because you are not going to get all, right? So deep research is going to help you fill those gaps, the things that you might have missed, right? So that's why we are going to use deep research as a tier 4 resources in this industry playbook. So you understand now the hierarchy. Now let's come to how to find those resources, right? So before that, this Gemini deep research is going to help us build 3 pillars for understanding any industry, right? So whenever you are researching any industry, the things that you first go look for is what are the top players, how the industry actually works, how the money actually flows in the industry, right? But that is, I feel, according to me, completely wrong, right? First and foremost thing you should look for while researching any industry is its history, and I will tell you why, right? Because we tend to look for 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, 10 year period, right? And it doesn't give you all the answers, especially in investing, right? So let's say I decide to invest in, let's say, any company, let's say a cement company, and I look at the 5 year historical or 10 year historical data and invest in it. But I precisely don't know what kind of cycle this industry goes through. So let's say some kind of cycle downturn comes in this cement industry. I haven't even looked at the 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 year cycle data. And I will panic and I will do, you know, I will make basically wrong decisions, right? And that's why while looking at any industry, this was just one example, by the way, you should always look at the history first. And that's why I have created this framework which talks about 3 pillars of industry understanding. First pillar is basically how did we get here, right? The historical forces that has shaped this industry. And then where is it going? That means what are the growth drivers, constraints, and the future prospects for this industry. And then third is basically the business model, how actually the money flows in and out of this industry, right? And I call these 3 specific pillars as origin, trajectory, and engine of this industry, and you cannot miss any of them, because there will be certain blind spots if you miss them. And to build this foundational knowledge, you can use different deep research tools. I myself prefer Gemini deep research to this, right? So how to do this? So you need to go into Google Gemini. Once you hit research, look at the prompt. So this is like an industry origin prompt. You are an economic historian, industry analyst, blah blah blah. Read this prompt carefully. The problem with today's people watching YouTube videos, or let's say reading newsletters as a readers, as a viewers, is that, let's say I am a YouTuber with a 1 million YouTube subscribers and you are watching my video. What happens is you tend to get, you can say, influence by whatever I am trying to say or whatever I am saying, right? But the thing that you don't look for is, whenever I am talking about certain workflow, I have tried 100 different ways and 90 ways I have failed, and now I have found out the 10 ways that this whole workflow works or this whole situation works, and I'm only telling you these 10 ways that did work. So once you use those 10 ways to build something or do something, you get immediately hit with that instant gratification. It feels really good, right? But just one element in that workflow changes, you are stuck, right? And this is what I call a robotic learning, right? You are trying to become robots, right? But imagine if you are trying to learn this way, you can be immediately replaceable, right? Because I can find a same robot who works 2 hours more than you, who works faster than you, right? So that's precisely the point I'm trying to highlight, is why AI is making you lazy, is because the way you are trying to learn is completely wrong, right? So point I'm trying to make is, read this entire prompt, understand it, and try to maybe modify it a little bit according to your own understanding, right? So what I will do here is, I will just copy this prompt, go into Google Gemini, I'll paste this, and I will just hit submit. So it will plan this, and then we will have to it. So it has started generating this research plan, right? And I will visit it a little bit later. So this is industry trajectory prompt. So this will talk about growth and future drivers and existing current industry dynamics as well, right? So once you study this as well, you paste that as well to generate a deep research report. You paste the next one, which is industry engine, which is talks about operation and economics of the industry, right? You again copy this, paste it into Google Gemini, generate that highly rich technical deep research report, right? So now you have three different reports, right? First, which talks about origin history. Second, which talks about the growth drivers. Third, which talks about the actual operation and economics of the industry. So now you have literally built the foundation for your industry research, right? Now it is time to import them, right? So I will again revisit here. Let's check whether they have made a plan. So now the research plan has been made. You can read this plan. Maybe if you want to make some changes, you can make changes, and I will just hit start research. So it will take few minutes, maybe 8 to 10 minutes to generate this whole report. Let's wait for that a little bit. Till then, let's talk about the next thing, right? So next thing, which is, we have already covered three research prompts. Now how to find, let's say, consultancy reports, right? Consultancy reports is a tier one source in our industry research. So these are the different prompts that you can use, right? So let's say I copy this prompt. So prompt is very simple research prompt. You can see industry analysis. I have filtered it with file type PDF and with the site like McKinsey, Deloitte, EY, BCG, then, right? And you just need to go into your NotebookLM, create a new notebook, right? Creating a new notebook now, it feels really good because you are starting something in your research, which is going to help you in the longer term, right? Because NotebookLM is this feature which you can use for months, years, and keep updating periodically, right? So now I have opened the notebook. I will just rename it as, let's say, right. So I have renamed it, and now the time comes to actually add resources, right? So I will just hit here. I will just select cement industry here, and I will search. So it will automatically gather 7 to 10 resources from me. There's another way to do this as well. Take a time, right? Take this seriously and slowly, doesn't matter. This is just a one-time thing. Once you add those sources now, you will never have to add them again, right? So I will just paste it here. I will add cement industry India, right? I will just hit enter. Lots of resources will come. You can just review those resources. If you like. Just copy the links or directly download them and return to your notebook, right? Hit add sources and just, right, it will automatically get added, right? Then let's say I have all these resources, right? I can view them one by one, right? If I like them, let's say this is a McKinsey resource, I will keep it. Let's say this EY resource I don't like, I will just unselect it. I will just unselect this one. I will just unselect some other one as well. And then I will just hit enter. That's it. Insert. That's it. So this is how you build a research notebook. So let's say I have now tier 1 resources all inserted. Then what I will do is I will show you done or not. So this has been happening still. I just import them, and then I will show you one sample notebook LM that I have created on Indian specialty chemical. So as you can see, all the tier 1 resources have entered, imported. I have renamed them as tier 1, tier 1, tier 1, tier 1. So I have renamed by adding suffix to everyone. So why do this? Because it's much more cleaner, right? So let's say you want to just, once the whole notebook is built with tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 resources, and let's say you just want to understand something from annual report, right? So you can just unselect everything and just select annual reports and get your answer faster and more refined answers, right? Let's say sometimes you want to do something with which could be related to history. Then I have renamed and added a suffix here, which is pillar 1, which is origin. I will just select this and I will query something. So it is extremely easier once you have 50, 60, 70, 80 resources in your notebook. It is extremely important to categorize those resources properly, so you will be able to maintain that notebook in much more better manner, right? So that's the reason why you should always rename your resources like this. So I will tell you how, right? So now all these resources are added, and all these are, let's say, tier 1 resources. So what I will do here is I will just select this one. I will renaming it how? I will just add tier 1 and I will just hit save, right? So it has become tier 1 now. I will again rename the second one as tier 2, and that's it. So this is how you properly maintain all your resources, right? So you can see how tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, look at all the sources, right? Then the pillars all I have imported as a Google Doc. Then all the annual reports I have imported as well, right? So I will show you one workflow on how to download annual reports faster as well. So let's say you are researching an industry, right? And you are trying to download annual reports. How are you going to download them? On what basis? It is not just about going and downloading top 3, top 5 players and that's it. That's isn't how you should really, let's say, maintain your resources annual reports. So how should you do it? You should categorize your industry into upstream, downstream, and midstream. So midstream will be your core players, right? Midstream will be your core players. Let's say I am trying to research a real estate industry, right? So real estate developer will be your all midstream players. What will be the upstream players? Upstream players could be your basically backward integration that you are doing, right? So these players will be cement industry, paint industry, steel industry, different metal industry, right? So metal companies, steel companies, cement companies, these will be your upstream players. Distributors. So distributor will be the people who are actually distributing your real estate properties. So which could be mandate firms, which could be developers itself. So you need to really download and get annual reports of all this entire value chain, right? So how should we do this, right? So let's say I will go into Perplexity Financier, and what I've done, you can see. So I'm currently researching Indian real estate industry. I need top 5 players in real estate development. I also need few names of developers from small cap and mid cap as well. I also want to understand the entire value chain of real estate industry, which will include upstream players, downstream players, as well as midstream developers. So this is the prompt, right? You just need to modify a prompt a little bit according to your own sector. Just open research assistant, right? And then just tell it, I'm trying to download annual reports of the following companies for financial year 2025. I have already opened NSE India website. What I want you to do is take charge of this website and download all the relevant annual reports for the companies that I'm mentioning for financial year 25. And the results I want in a certain manner. I only need links to the annual report. Pasted this. You can see all the companies are there. I will just hit enter. What will happen here is Comet. By the way, you can use any kind of browser here. You can use Chrome browser with Gemini or Claude integration. You can use Comet browser here. So I prefer Comet because it is extremely faster compared to the other two. Right. So what will happen now is it will start giving me all the annual links. It will start downloading the relevant annual reports from that browser. It has already taken the access. Let's see what it comes up with. And till then, we'll just return to our deep research. What we need to do is just export it to docs. So once a resource opens in Google, just need to copy it. You can do it from here, or you can just copy the link here. So it has come up with all the links, right? So you just need to copy those links. Just select everything, go into your again NotebookLM, go in and just paste everything here, and that's it. Your industry research is ready. And once that is done, you just need to figure out how to ask the right questions, right? And all the right question structure is already included in this guide, right? So let's say once you want to understand the industry economics, so what drives the profitability in this particular segment? What are the key cost components? So all of that is already included in this guide. Please have a thorough read if you really want to build this notebook from scratch, right? One rule again I'm mentioning, you need to add prefix to all the types of categories. You can see if it is a consultancy report, add tier 1 as a prefix. If it is government and regulatory reports, add tier 2 as a suffix. Annual reports, add AR or whatever you prefer as a suffix, right? The Gemini deep research prompts reports, add suffix like pillar 1, pillar 2, pillar 3, depending on whether it is a history or trajectory or engine, right? And then Concall is the one thing I forgot. So all we have done so far is secondary research, right? Consultancy reports, regulatory body reports, annual reports. So all of these are scripted, right? So what about something primary? So as an individual investor, as an or even as a small investment firm, you cannot literally go and talk to these people all the time, right? To do primary research, or you cannot talk to everyone in the value chain. So what's the closest you can come to primary research is earnings con call reports, right? So every quarter company held these between company's top management and investors as well as analysts, right? So this is the as close as you can come to primary research. So how to do Concall analysis as a source and include it in NotebookLM. So let's say understand again all the value chain. So few upstream players, few downstream players, and few midstream players. Identify those. You must have identified that while researching annual reports, and just download last 2 3 con calls of each company, right? Upload all of these 15 20 30 con calls to your Gemini and ask Gemini to compile the summary of all this con call as a source for my industry research, right? And it will create a nice report of all the summary of all those con calls, and you can import that report as a notebook LM source. You can directly import all those 20 reports in the notebook LM as well, but I don't think that's necessary, right? Then now you have all the resources, you have all compiled all the resource book in your notebook LM. Now it is again asking the right questions, right? So asking the right question will be covered in this guide, right? Along with this, I have already included a pre-made notebook that I have myself created, which you can again refer to in this guide. Apart from this, right? So this guide was created by me couple of months back, right? But right now in last 2 3 months, there are certain new things have come up which could be really helpful in the next step of this industry research, which is actual execution. How you use this notebook LM to your advantage, because you have built this, but everyone will build this, right, once they follow all these steps. But how they use it will be entirely different from user to user or from an analyst to analyst, right? Because everyone will have its own set of questions, everyone will have its own set of rules while using notebook LM as a industry book, right? So recently only I have discovered that Claude code can be integrated with notebook LM, right? So for anyone who don't know, Claude code is basically a AI model by Anthropic, right? Where you literally can ask anything inside Claude code terminal, and it will help you execute it from point 1 to point 2 or point 1 to point 10. It will help you with the complete workflow. So let's say you want to build an equity research report from scratch. You just tell Claude Code, I want to build equity research report from scratch. Help me with this. It will literally plan it in phases. It will execute phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 till the whole equity research report is completed. If you want to go and build a website, you just tell Claude Code to build a website. It will completely build a website for you. So it is like an untamed horse, right? It has no limitations. Where in our case of Notebook LM, it had certain limitations, which was the primary reason we used it. But now imagine combining code, which has literally has no limitations, with something as much powerful but completely opposite in nature, which is Notebook LM, right? So once you literally combine those together, the thing that you are going to get is completely going to change the investment research and industry research. How you do investment research is going to literally accelerate 10x times, because you just don't understand how powerful both these tools are. And this is exactly what I'm going to cover in our next video, right? So yeah, stay tuned for that. And as I said, you really need to love AI, or have to be passionate about AI if you really want to stay positive in the long term, because it is going to get extremely frustrating as well using AI long term, because you don't even try to learn one tool and then there are new 10 tools in this way, right? So it is going to be extremely frustrating, and you need to find a way to love your workflow with AI. And that is the only way you are going to stay and learn these new things that are happening with AI with positivity in the longer term. And I will end this video with Warren Buffett's line, which is, bell is not a bell till you ring it, song is not a song till you sing it, and love is not loved till you give it away. So find a way to give your love from your heart to AI, and AI will definitely love you back. See you in the next one.